Welcome to the Mythic Movie Maker podcast, where we analyze movies from a mythological perspective. My name is John, and this is my brother Nick.
Hello.
How are you, Nick?
Doing good. Just got finished watching James Bond Casino Royale.
That's right. And do you have a quote for us?
I do. Sometimes we're so focused on our enemies that we forget to watch our friends.
Ooh. And that was near the end.
It was very close to
Then,
the end of the movie, yeah.
yeah, where, well, we'll find out later, but he let his guard down.
hmm
He thought he was safe. So is that like a big theme of the movie, would you say?
Yeah, I would say letting your guard down around allies is a thing that burns James Bond a couple times in this movie.
Like Matthias? Is that what is his name?
Mathis, I
Oh,
think.
Mathis. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, was someone that he thought was his friend, but ended up being an enemy. It is that sort of thing where it's like you don't know who to trust ever, you know?
yeah, and I think like there's a line somewhere about that where James says something along the lines of like, "Oh, I'm just the lesson I've learned from this
Yeah.
movie is never trust anyone."
From from starring in this movie as James Bond, I learned
Yeah,
this. No, I think that was M that said it. Was like she was like, "So did you learn your lesson?" And the lesson was
like
basically don't
was
trust anybody.
yeah,
Except, you know what's funny
which is
is
which is a terrible lesson for any protagonist that's not James Bond.
why is that?
Because like most like in a typical action movie, like a is like the hero, the lesson the hero would learn would be to learn to trust their friends or learn to trust their companions or whatever, and opening up and learning to trust is like this positive thing that most movies would sort of hail a character for doing. And the lesson, the darker lesson that James Bond has to learn in his, because this is basically an origin story, is you're on your own, only trust yourself,
Yes.
and go out and be this like this island.
Well, okay, so another interesting moment in the movie relating to trust. Remember after he gets tortured and the mysterious guy comes in and kills the bad
Mads
guy?
Mikkelsen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We should find out what his name is.
we can just call him Mads. It's fine.
It's okay. Oh, Le Chiffre.
Le Chiffre. Oh
Le
yeah.
Chiffre. Okay, the guy comes in and kills Le Chiffre. Do you remember what he says to Le Chiffre before he kills him?
No.
So Le Chiffre was the bad guy that was killed by an even worse bad guy that was like
Mhm.
above him. And he says, in this business, you have to trust people, you know. And
Oh yeah. So it's almost like this weird reversal where you have a hero whose power is derived from distrusting his allies,
yeah,
and a villain based entirely on trusting their allies.
I thought that too.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah,
So why do you think the good guys can't trust anybody? Why does that make you a good guy? Or why is it that being a good guy means you can't trust anybody?
like you have to have like James Bond has certain characteristics that people like. They like the fact that he's aloof, that he doesn't follow orders, that he kills people fairly indiscriminately, and that he
Well, yeah,
uh
that was another one
sleeps.
of my favorite quotes
Yeah,
is does it bother you to kill all those people? She asked him, and he said, "Well, it would. I wouldn't be very good at my job if it did."
yeah. So I think like you have to like, or like to me it seems like they've crafted a world where this violent, cynical, you know, alcoholic is capable of being the hero and not like a a giant liability.
You're
So
talking
you have
about
to have
James
the
Bond?
yeah, James Bond. So like you have to like there has to be betrayals and evil organizations whose power and evilness justifies almost any behavior. So I think
Yeah. Well,
and like that's less of like a thematic thing and more of like a storytelling thing.
like okay, so James Bond, there's like two competing forces, you know, there's MI6, which is the force of light, and they're
Yeah.
going around discovering all these secrets, dark secrets, right, in the
Hmm.
world. And then there's the side of the dark, which is this shadow organization doing all the they're like stealing and what else do they do? Like I
Like
guess
like te- they fund and
oh
bank
yeah. Yeah,
terrorism.
yeah,
They
yeah.
do like they sell
Oh
and
yeah, they
buy
manipulate the
guns.
stock market and stuff like
I,
at the
I,
beginning.
I think that was just Le Chiffre. Yeah, I got the impression that like all of the using terrorism to short stocks was Le Chiffre's like personal deal.
Yeah, but what was interesting about this is like, you know, this is a movie series and we're going to be doing all the movies in the series,
Yeah,
which are
and
have
we yeah, and so we can stop just saying evil organization, just say Spectre.
oh, is it
Uh,
Spect? I thought it was the
it,
Syndicate. Or is that oh no, that's Mission Impossible.
yeah,
I forget.
I think like they're not mentioned by name in this movie, but I'm fairly sure that the events of all the movies are connected to Spectre at the
Oh, okay,
by the
okay, yeah.
by the end of it.
To be honest, I've only seen this one, Quantum of Solace, and Skyfall.
Yep, that is exactly what I've seen.
Okay, so
All right, so we're on this journey together. I think this I actually have very few notes on this movie because a lot of it is action scenes with no dialogue.
yeah, which I love.
Um, which is great because like the like I was actually really impressed with how like the action scene with no dialogue is telling a story.
Hmm.
Like it's not
Oh,
uh
you're totally right. Yeah.
it's not like a Marvel movie where like the action scene starts and it's just people punching each other and then at one point the writer like by fiat decides that one of them wins.
Uh-huh.
It's like actually like they're like moving from location to location. There's like problems, and then the problem gets solved, and you're kind of like characterizing the bad guys often in really interesting ways. Like just from like the way they like yeah like in the first scene where they're James Bond is chasing that bomb maker.
Hmm.
There's kind of this story of like the bomb maker is really physically impressive. He's doing all this like parkour
Oh
shit because
yeah.
and
Yeah.
Daniel Craig is instead of like parkouring up this scaffolding, he just moves a cherry picker
Hmm.
so that it just so the cradle just goes straight to the top of the thing and he just runs up it. And then
Yeah.
later
It's
on
very
he like
Odysseus like.
yeah, he
Like,
like knocks this pulley thing and it like brings him up again.
yeah.
So like
And
he's not like he's not the incredible physical specimen. That's not what makes James Bond special. It's how clever he is.
yeah. And they make a point of that too, because like the other guy made those jumps off the crane with ease, and James Bond did it with much difficulty. He like barely could was able to do
Yeah,
it.
like he like jumps from platform to platform, but like he in rolling off the first platform just like falls on his face into like a garbage bin or
Yeah.
something.
He just continues on. And another thing I really like about the fight scenes is like in the Marvel movies, they'll just be like throwing hands at each other and like maybe they're flying in the middle of the air or something and they're swooping all around.
Yeah,
It's just like okay, they're super powerful. But with this movie, you feel grounded in the environment. Like you like it's you're moving through the environment. It is the environment is a part of the scene, and
yeah,
that's
like
so
it's
much more interesting. It feels like you're going places, like you were saying, you know.
uh
a lot of like those kind of like fights are you manipulating your environment, you know, like how you can
Yeah,
manipulate it's sort of like I'll get into this later, but I see the whole movie as sort of a giant poker game. The whole thing is like a big game. And
yeah,
so your environment is your game board, you know? And so whoever can manipulate their game board the best is the winner.
like poker and gambling loom pretty large in this movie.
Yeah, even before they even get to the scenes at all. So you have you have the forces of light, which is MI6, and you
Mhm.
have the forces of dark, that's Spectre. We'll find out in later movies is Spectre.
Uh-huh.
The forces of light, they want to discover all these secret darknesses in the world, right?
Yes, it's like they're looking for dark places to operate.
Yeah, exactly. And to expose them, essentially. And then but the dark network, they're trying to keep things hidden as a collective.
Hmm.
And so what does that require above all to be able to do that?
Just shine a light on it.
No, for them,
Oh, for them.
it requires trust. You need to
Oh
be able to
yeah,
trust the MI6 people, they don't need to trust each other, you know?
yeah, because like you don't need to trust your bank because if your bank does something nefarious, it's all in paperwork and
Yeah,
visible to the
exactly.
world. Yeah,
You're all like essentially you don't need trust when you know the truth.
yeah.
You know, because it's
When
the
everything is
truth.
being when everything is being done out in the open and in the light, you can just see what they're doing and not have to trust that they're doing what's right for you.
Yeah, because everyone can see and everyone can judge for themselves, you know. That's a good point that like it is kind of counterintuitive, but good guys don't need to trust because they have the truth on their side, you know. And it's just
Mm.
sort of like
Self-evident or
self-evident. Yeah.
yeah.
The truth is self-evident. And it
Mm.
is. You know, all people when they see the truth, they know it's the truth. Like when it just slaps them in the face. So,
So, do you have any thoughts on the 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 MI6 agent that's kind of a doofus at the very beginning, who
the very beginning,
very beginning, yeah,
before the chase even.
yeah,
Well,
immediately before the chase,
so that is hugely important in my opinion
yeah, because like
because
to me
yeah.
that's what like a typical MI6 agent behaves like, and James Bond is a 007 or a 00 agent. He's
Well, I thought that that other guy was a double O agent.
oh, or yeah, okay, well, even if he's not, the important thing is that he's not James Bond.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's look at the way that they start this story is by James Bond killing two people in black and white.
Oh yeah,
That's just a bizarre way to start this entire thing, don't you think?
yeah. Well, it's weird because they do like the flashback inside a flashback, and so
Yeah.
the the flashback is black and white, and the
Oh,
flashback is like all blown out
mm,
and weird looking.
you're right. It is kind of interesting. It's like in Kill Bill. It's like a deeper level of flashback, so it gets more cartoony looking.
Yeah, and in that very first scene, I was kind of thinking if like the gun is like a metaphor for agency, or if it's just this is a spy movie and everyone has guns.
How would it be a metaphor for agency? Oh,
Like,
because he stole his clip out of it. So
yeah,
he removed
his agency, and
his
then like they're
agency,
fighting
yeah.
over, and then they're in the bathroom with the flashback. They're like fighting over the gun,
Hmm.
and then like there's many scenes involving handguns where the person with the handgun is the one in power. So like maybe that is like a thing where like the gun represents one's ability to do action and
Well,
have power. But then that's just like naturally what a gun does.
well, and look at the very end though. Look at the size of the gun that he was holding.
Oh yeah,
Do you remember that? Like it was like this big sniper gun that he had in his hand. And I hate to go there, but I don't know. Do you know where I'm going to go with that?
penis.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I only say that because of that whole speech that Le Chiffre gave while he was torturing James Bond because he was just hitting his balls over and over. And
Yeah.
he was
Well,
talking about
like
like
if like it's kind of like a classic evil guy thing to like as he's torturing someone to muse on the nature of torture.
yeah. And typically I
Like
hate those scenes are the
it's
worst. But where I was going with that was sort of like, so he was telling him, he was basically saying, James Bond, I'm going to take your manhood away from you, basically.
yeah. So I do think that James Bond as a specifically male fantasy
Yes,
uh
totally agree.
it yeah is like that's what the character is. Like, oh, he's hyper competent. Women just without him even saying a word, women will do the double back and look at him. Married women,
Especially.
especially, and he's excellent with a gun, and people recognize how good he is at everything he does, but they're still even when they don't like him, they're like, oh God, James Bond,
Yeah.
if only you weren't so good at being a super spy.
And well, another thing is too, he's like he's not phased by anything. Like even the
Yeah,
greatest dangers, people are like, doesn't that affect you? And he's like, no.
yeah, he's calm,
But
cool, and collected the whole time, and I think like that's the reason why that scene is there is because he's directly attacking the fantasy of James Bond by
yeah, let me ask you this. In your opinion, is James Bond really not affected by anything, or does he just put on a poker face?
well, he's clearly affected by Vesper's death
Hmm. But
and
like,
betrayal.
there's the poker face, which is you don't show any emotion, and then there's what's going
Mhm.
on inside of you.
Yeah,
Do you think that he has these deep emotions going on inside of him that he's just not showing? Or do you think he just doesn't have those emotions?
I think he has those emotions. Like even during that very scene where he's being tortured and he's joking with Lashif
Hmm.
about the torture that he's receiving. And then he hears Vesper screaming in the other room, and he immediately becomes far more concerned about that than
Hmm.
his own torture.
Yeah, yeah. And like you were gonna say too, like that is kind of Vesper is kind of his weakness. Could be. And I agree with you. I do think that he has those emotions, but he just has such a strong poker face that he doesn't ever show it. So to the point where people think he is a psychopath. Le Chiffre is a true psychopath.
Yeah,
James Bond just pretends to be one, but he has these emotions because later on in the movie he he removes his armor, right? And he
yeah, yeah.
he takes off his tuxedo and then he puts on a dopey Hawaiian shirt like in Pulp Fiction.
Well, doesn't he have his dopey Hawaiian shirt on in the first action scene?
Yes, but that okay, well, speaking of like superheroes, that's sort of his Superman costume, right? Where he's pretending to be like everyone else, like a weak person like everyone else.
Well, I think he's just supposed like he as a super spy, he's just supposed to be a chameleon.
Hmm.
Like when he's schmoozing with the poker high rollers, he fits in incredibly well. And then when he's in that snake fighting ring or whatever, he's also fitting in perfectly. And like him fitting in is exactly what makes him different from the doofus that he's paired with.
Yeah, who's like keeps touching his ear and gives away the game. Well, I think, so you were talking about like James Bond is a male fantasy, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of lessons, and I think it is an important movie for men to watch. I feel like men or teenager boys could pick up on a lot of things on like how to be a man in the world. And one of those things is like you do kind of have to adapt to every situation that you're in. If
Yeah.
you're if you're with your wife, you're a family man. You can't be like 10-4ing all the time or like, or like in gambler mode or something. Your family doesn't want that from you. They want you to be the family man. But then when the time comes and you go to the casino with your friends, you can't be like a softie. You have to play the part and you have to be like, "Hey, I'm one of the boys. I know how to do this too." Because people will eat you up in that situation. You kind of have to be able to play the part as a man, I think. Like that's one of those lessons that the movie teaches.
Yeah, like it's well, like it's once again like the whole like with him being a super spy, he does have to wear a lot of masks.
Hmm.
And then his lowest point happens like immediately after he masks off.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can't do that. Like as a woman you can. Vesper, she's just who she is all the time. She's like beautiful and smart. And James Bond is even like, I love you because you don't have a tell. And she doesn't have a tell because she's not faking anything.
Well, yeah, but also
Like,
like being real and true got her killed.
yeah.
So like I would say that like I don't think we need to gender these lessons. I think
Well,
anyone
yeah.
who's not like a stone faced badass all the time has to die. Like because M is the most stone faced and the most badass character in the whole movie,
True. And the most
and
powerful.
the most powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, she rules over James Bond. And she even
Hmm.
says, like, if you do this again, I'll kill you. You
Yeah.
know? And she probably could.
Like
Like she killed that one guy. She
yeah
sent James
like
Bond to kill that one guy.
literally the only character in the entire movie that disobeys M at any point is James Bond.
Yeah. And only because he's James Bond.
Yeah.
He knows that he's that useful. But yeah, you're right. I actually I wouldn't gender them either. I'll get into it later. I'll get into it later. But I think James Bond, Vesper, M, and the MI6 are not separate. They're all a part of a cohesive whole in sort of an inside out sort of way.
Mhm.
But
It
but
is
yeah, go on.
it is a little strange that like Vesper, who's not a secret agent, who's just like a money person,
Well, she's
like
part
has
of the MI6, right?
okay, yeah. So she's still in the spy organization, but
Yeah.
she's like a money person in the spy organization. So the fact that she's here and not some other agent is kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So let's talk. We could talk about her because I do find her
But
very interesting.
yeah, although I do think that that dips into like poking at plot holes, like
Hmm.
which is
No, I found this movie incredibly symbolic and metaphorical.
okay.
Everybody represented something else, and but that's just the way my mind works. So you tell me if I'm going to try to convince you of this, and we'll see how
Okay.
well I do. Um, but so Vesper, remember that first conversation they had? They were sort of sizing each other up, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
They were having a little duel
and
in the airplane.
and James Bond saw right through her, but then she saw right through him as well. So they were
Yeah.
kind of equally matched. James Bond says, "Well, the reason I can see right through you is because I'm good at reading people." And Vesper, I don't feel like she's good at reading people. I feel like she's good at reading numbers and odds and stuff like that. I think she's missing that human element.
Yeah. So well, like I would say like reading James Bond fully and completely after like a 30-second conversation is
Yeah.
her understanding people. But then again, it's yeah, like it's I think it's I think her flaw,
Yeah.
the thing that makes her different from James Bond is she's not a gambler.
Yeah.
James Bond will throw it all on red,
Hmm.
and she doesn't want to do that. She doesn't have that like
The killer instinct and the poker face.
or
She's too outward, you know.
she well no I think it's like she's like doesn't want to like she doesn't like huge risks.
Mm, yeah. That's
Because
a really good point.
James Bond will just like fling himself into a situation and then hope it works out.
Hmm. Well, and he intentionally lost money too, just to
Oh,
get
just
for a
just to get
deeper
the tell.
purpose, just to get his
Yeah,
tell. I don't think she would have done that. Like she would see that she's would see that as like a stupid thing to do. But he does
yeah,
it. He does it. He sacrifices some money so that he could get more important information he feels, you know.
yeah. Well, she would play poker the way like actual professional poker players play, which is conservative.
Yeah.
Like not
Well,
not not like just making a big play hoping that the other person's bluffing.
yeah. Yeah, James Bond crashes out, you know,
Yeah, he's
a couple of times during the game, loses everything or loses most of everything.
and yeah, the CIA agent having to come in and rescue him it feels a little contrived,
Hmm.
to be honest, where it's like, okay, we really want James to lose everything and to have that drama. And then
Yeah.
we also want him to come back and win. So we're gonna do this. And then he
Yeah.
also kind of like really blows smoke up his ass where he's like, yeah, I'm bleeding chips here. Like, I think I think you're the one who can win this.
Yeah.
You've got it.
Well, he's James Bond. He's the best.
I do like how they gave Le Chiffre all of these little false tells. Like he has all these little ticks that he does during games that aren't his tell.
Yeah.
Like he taps his left temple all the time. He does his inhaler all the time. He'll flip the chips with his hand. And then the real tell is him bleeding out of his eyes.
You're right. You're right. And but what's interesting about that, it's the one thing he can't control. So
Yeah,
he's built all these other false tells that are under his control and would throw other people off. But the one thing that he can't control, that's his real tell, you know? And that's what James
mm-hmm.
Bond is looking for the whole time. What's
So yeah, like there's all these like shots of like a close up of James Bond, and then like a real mega close up of his eye.
yeah.
You just feel like, oh, James Bond's watching his eyes.
You know, it's also one of those things that's like a James Bond trope, which is all the bad guys are all deformed in some way, you know?
Yeah, they all have like eye patches or limps or have a golden hand or something.
Yeah, which is totally ableist,
Oh my
as you
god,
know.
totally.
But I think it actually serves a metaphorical purpose.
Well, I think the idea is that there's something broken on the inside of the Bond villains,
Exactly. Yeah, that's
and
exactly.
Yeah, and that's just showing on the outside too.
You remember the bomb maker guy at the very beginning.
Yeah, with his giant scars.
He had giant scars on his face. Why?
Well, from as the natural consequence of making bombs, but like
Exactly.
metaphorically, it's because he's damaged in his because his profession is hurting people.
His profession's evil. Yeah.
Yeah.
And and his evilness has corrupted his body. It's like an outward corruption of your evil deeds, you know? And the
Mm.
bomb maker one is great because it's so direct. It's like, yeah, this guy makes bombs and he was punished for it, you know?
Yeah.
And he has to live with that evil for his whole life. He's forever scarred with that, you know? And James Bond is like a stunningly attractive guy. They say it in even Le Chiffre even says it to him. You know, he's like, you take good care of yourself. This seems such a waste because he was going to kill him.
And that also like goes back to like the fantasy aspect of him where he's supposed to be like stunningly good looking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because he's supposed to be
Yeah.
the guy you want to be. Nobody looks at
Exactly.
Le Chiffre and is like, I want to be that guy with the
Yeah.
that's always frowning all the time and like sweating. Like he's always
Mm.
sweaty. I feel like they did that on purpose. Well, shall we go? There's still stuff I want to say about the very beginning. Okay.
Okay, yeah. Oh,
Um,
the flashback at the very beginning, or like
the
the Uganda scene.
no, but the flashback, the very,
Okay,
very beginning. So James Bond is being inducted as a 007, right?
yeah.
And the way that he does that is by committing evil. You have to
By
kill
by 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 killing a fellow agent,
by killing a fellow agent. Yeah. So a
or at least
brother
killing some.
almost.
Yeah, at least kill like someone in MI6.
Yeah, like they knew each
Yeah,
other.
yeah.
You could tell like they knew each other. What that means is they're setting the story up to be this is what it means to be a man also. You have to you have to leave the Garden of Eden, essentially. You have to encounter your shadow side. If you want to be a man, you have to encounter evil and you have to participate in evil. Not evil, but you have to participate in like violence and stuff for defense, defense of the nation, jolly
Mm.
old England. That's an ugly truth. That's a hard pill to swallow, but it's something that he decided I want to I want to defend the nation and I want to, metaphorically become a man. And so I need to encounter evil. I have to fight evil with violence and stuff.
So the movie never really addresses his motivation for being a super spy.
Well, what it doesn't, but what do you think?
I don't get the sense of like this grand patriotism motivating him. I get the sense
That could be. That is
that
what
his
he's as that's the effect though.
is that like his like if he couldn't be a super spy, he would just be miserable or in jail.
But, at the end of the movie, he seemed fine because he was with Vesper.
Yeah, but like the metaphorically that was just always going to fail. Like he's never going to have a happy peaceful life because he's James Bond and
Ah,
he's destined for a life of violence and adventure.
well, I kind of see this as a metaphor though for every man. He's an everyman kind of man. And so this
No, 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 no. Like the notion that James Bond is an everyman hero is
no, metaphorically though, metaphorically.
okay, okay, okay.
Like this is telling at a deep level a story that all men go through, you know? And that is essentially there's evil out there. There's corruption. You can't hide from it. Like that's what he tried to do at the end of the movie. At the beginning of the movie, I think he didn't even know what he was getting into. He just wanted to be a part of something greater than him, maybe. There was a duty about it. Or in a, in the individual metaphorical way, it was just growing up. Like he's just become a grown up. Being a
Yeah.
007 is leaving childhood and becoming a grown up. But at the end of the movie, he thought that he had, rid the world of evil or done his duty, and
Yeah.
achieved his personal task of like getting the girl and killing the bad guy, He completes all
Hmm.
that. But then there's this lingering question. Who was the guy that actually killed Lashif? It was somebody
He
that was
he
even more evil, you know?
he seemed very he seemed like suspiciously uncurious about that.
Yeah. Like he was like willingly ignoring it.
Yeah.
If you live in a world where corruption and like the forces of darkness still operate, you can't ever be at peace. And that's when he found what his true purpose was to fight the forces of darkness. It may be an endless task in everybody's lives to be fighting the forces of darkness. But the more you do, the more peace you have within you and the more peace there is in the world.
So I have a completely opposite stance on that, where James Bond is interesting not because he is doing the things that every man must do,
Hmm.
but because James Bond is special. And all of the things that make him special are things that would be bad for every man to be. He is seductive of every woman he encounters. He is incredibly mercurial. He'll just jump into a situation that he doesn't understand and then trust in his own competence to see him through.
Yeah.
He, while betting with his country's money to the tune of, $100 million, he's drinking voraciously. It's so like James Bond, if your goal is to be a man and be a provider and care for your family and do all of the things that a typical individual needs to do in order to be a good citizen,
Hmm.
you want to be less like James Bond. He's out here doing super spy stuff because like he needs to be doing super spy stuff because he could not have a normal life. He couldn't, be a car mechanic. he would he would fail at that. He would fail at being a provider.
Well,
He would
okay, I think you're right. I think you're right. And this is only the first movie. And what's the last movie? Is the last movie Spectre? But, we haven't seen it yet. Maybe it ends with him being a car mechanic. Because the way I see it, you need to go through this hard stuff first to have peace. I think I've seen this in movies before where like a character gets so used to fighting the hard things that he's unable to have peace at the end. And that becomes the hardest lesson to learn is to have peace at the end. And so maybe this is only the beginning of the journey. Because I kind of see like James Bond, the way it started is like a journey through the shadows, these shadow bad guys that are all mysterious, like operating in the shadows, the shadow,
yeah.
encountering the shadow within yourself, like the darkness within you is like, and then hopefully by the end of it, and for a brief moment you see the light and then that's taken away from you. Boop, you're pulled back into the shadows. You're not done yet, you know. So,
Yeah, so there's two ways this kind of thing ends. One is the Andy Dufresne, where like you
say
like the
what's a nail.
hardship. Yeah, so like where the hardship and the difficulty and the injustice can't penetrate your internal sense of of yourself.
Yeah,
And then the other way this turns out is by the violence in you is just being used up and then you're just discarded. Like
yeah,
it ends with you died the way you lived, violently on some super spy mission.
and
And I can't think of a great example of that at this exact moment, but
well, it's the it's the live by the sword, die by the sword.
yeah.
Like,
And I think that second one is a little closer to James Bond, where it's and like a part of it is just purely practical as a pulp novel character,
mhm.
where like every story has to begin with James Bond being James Bond and then end with James Bond being James Bond, and you can read the books in any order.
Well, yeah. Well, that's well, this series was a huge breakaway from the James Bonds of the past.
Well,
Like
he does have a little mini arc in every one of these movies,
he
but they are
does.
very mini. He begins and ends the movie as a slightly different version of the same James Bond.
Yeah.
He's all it's almost like he's because this is like the first one and kind of like the origin story of this iteration of James Bond. It just kind of like he starts a little more green and a little more trusting, and then the events of this movie harden him a little bit and turn him into a
Yeah.
prepare him for the next movie or whatever.
Well, I want to make a argument for James Bond being the everyman, which
Okay, let's hear
is
it.
if you don't walk through life feeling that you're special and unique and have something that nobody else can offer to the world, I don't think I don't think you're going to live a very fulfilling life, you know? So,
But that's every protagonist in the history of
well, but
every
I
story
feel
ever.
like everybody on Earth should feel that way in some way, you know? Or here's how it relates to James Bond, or you should aspire to be that, you know?
Well, no, like
James Bond isn't saying this is who you are. He's saying this is the man you should aspire to be, you know?
so. I
This
think
is
I
like the
think
ideal.
like a fantasy can have aspirational elements to it,
Hmm.
but I still stand by the sense or the that James Bond on the whole on the in the round is not someone people should aspire to be like. Uh,
Well,
like
yes. Well, yeah, Nick,
he is.
the guns and stuff, yeah. But
Well, no,
I
no, no,
just
no.
mean
Like
the
like
way that he acts, is and the
I mean, he's kind of selfish and reckless.
well, okay, so
He,
that is a good point. We should talk about that because his ego is
yeah,
mentioned many times in the movie.
yeah, and I think having a massive ego is directly to the benefit of him as a 007 agent because like they mentioned he mentions it earlier where to Judy Dench or M where he's like, oh well, double O agents have a short lifespan, so you only have to deal with me for so long.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like what I was talking about of him being like this violent instrument that gets sort of used up, and like it's this necessary evil. He's being thrown in these incredibly dangerous situations, and he has to be confident and reckless and egotistical, or else he would never have
Yeah.
he would never be able to get out of these James Bond situations.
Well, yeah, I mean that is so it's a very superhero sort of thing, which is like, okay, you're given a license to kill, which is what he is at the beginning, you know. What's his first mission?
He's
Take somebody in alive. And what does he do?
yeah, he kills him.
Not only does he kill him, he blows up the embassy.
Yeah,
That was a huge lesson. That was a huge mistake. That's at the beginning of the movie. He's not in control of himself. He has an ego, and he's abusing this power that he's given. You know,
yeah,
and he's told by M, you need to be more humble. And he even like breaks into her house and spies on her, and she's like, dude, you are not you are going crazy like with your
yeah.
power.
This is like you're supposed to be reckless and egotistical, but this is too far.
Yeah, like
This
you're
is
still under my control. Don't get anything mixed up here, like you've been given this power, and now you think you're better than me. No, let's not. And then the very next scene, I love this. He's like riding around in like some beach. I forget what the town is, but that beach town. And oh, it's the Bahamas. And
yeah,
what's the car that they give him to start with? To humble him, they put him in this shitty Ford car, and that he's riding around in.
yeah. And then he immediately steals
Yeah.
An Aston Martin.
No, he doesn't steal it. He wins it. He wins it.
Oh yeah, yeah,
But what I like about the movie is he does slowly learn to control his ego throughout it.
yeah. Because in that very scene where that guy mistakes him for a valet,
Uh-huh.
and
And he
he
plays
takes the
along.
yeah, well, he plays along momentarily, then he takes the Land Rover and just runs it into somebody else's car,
Yeah, so he's learning.
presumably just like for like shits and giggles, just because he thought it, just because the guy insulted him and he wanted to
Well,
turn it around.
I guess he didn't like how pompous that guy was acting.
Yeah, like us the audience are supposed to hate that guy.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty clear. Um, Although I guess he does kind of use that as a distraction to get all the security guys out of the office.
Yeah, that's another thing that I find cool about the movie is the movie itself is so clever because everything that James Bond does not only achieves like like a single purpose, like it achieves multiple purposes. So he gets back at that guy, but there's a grander reason for it. It's not just pettiness.
Yeah,
James Bond on the surface looks like this petty, bombastic, egotistical, reckless guy, but he's doing everything for a grander purpose. Like
I mean,
he's
so that's imagine if in your life, you know, reality was dictated by a writer
uh-huh.
who contrived to make every one of your impulsive actions also the right thing to do. like like James Bond. Let's like if even if there was never a super terrorist banker, James Bond would love to play high stakes poker.
Yeah.
He would like if he had the opportunity just for fun, he would be
Well,
in that room playing with those people and probably winning.
that this is a fantasy though, so it
Yeah,
can. But I think what the point of it though is like he's playing poker, he's doing all these cool things, and it seems like he's one way to everyone, but really deep down, he's doing it for this patriotic reason. He's doing it for Queen and Country, you
yeah,
know?
and I
And
think there's I think there's like I'm not saying that that's a wrong interpretation, but like okay, so clearly what's happening is that the right thing to do is lining up with his impulses.
not always, though.
Not always, but like so there's two dueling, interpretations of that. One is that he's being driven by his impulses and oh thank God it just happens to be the right thing to do.
Hmm.
And then the other explanation is that like he's like the right thing to do that which he's doing because of Queen and Country also just happens to be fit perfectly in line with his personality.
Yeah. Well, let
And
me.
like
Yeah,
I'm not gonna give primacy to either one of those explanations because
yeah.
you don't really need to.
No, well, and to me, it's more fun of a movie, um, to think like, oh, James Bond just got revenge on that pompous guy for humiliating him or whatever, you know.
Yeah,
But then,
it's also easy to imagine that James Bond is so smart and such a good spy that he would have figured out a way to get into the guards area without doing that. But this is just like, oh,
yeah. Well, that's
I can
it.
show up this asshole and then also
That's it.
complete my mission.
He
Yeah,
he's so awesome and he's so great that he's able to achieve both of those at in one action, you know.
yeah,
And that's like goes into the fantasy of it, I think. And I it makes you love him essentially. You
yeah,
know, another thing too is like they gave Vesper to him and he immediately like is attracted to her, you know.
yeah,
And she's attracted to him. But and they act like a couple. They pretend to be a couple because they're spies, right? And it's
yeah.
kind of a romantic comedy sort of plot. So they're pretending to be this just obnoxious rich couple. But there's also something deeper happening with them, you know. Is they're
They're actually becoming a couple
they're
slowly.
actually slowly becoming a couple, yeah. On the surface, it's one thing. They're just two hot people, hot, wealthy people. But really, it's, you know, they're two spies doing something good, supposedly, for, you
Yeah.
know, for their country. So, and I don't really know what to make of that other than just like you kind of have to hide your good nature in this world, or else people will take advantage of you, you know, or people will
uh
easily see through you. You don't agree with
well, yeah.
that?
Well, no. I actually do agree with you in that like James Bond is in these situations where like being a bad dude is necessary in order to
Yeah,
like survive.
yeah.
And like Vesper, like there's been like other Bond girls that have been dangerous spies as well,
Hmm.
but Vesper's just not that. Like she's just like so out of her element doing super spy stuff that like it's just so weird that she's even there.
Yeah.
Like when those two Ugandan guys show up and try to murder them with a machete, like she absolutely breaks down.
Yeah. And she's like sitting under the shower, like unable to cope with what just happened. And did she kill them?
No,
Oh, okay. Well, she said like I feel like I have blood on my hands just for even being a participant in it.
I mean
Y-
like that would be a pretty traumatic thing to experience if you weren't. Yeah, like you know like me being this like tiny woman and having this huge guy with a machete like charging at you and barely surviving the experience and then yeah killing someone is in itself very traumatic.
Yeah. It's interesting because, you know, James Bond went through that at the very beginning of the movie and he couldn't show any emotion about it. And then she had to do it and then she couldn't she couldn't do what James Bond did. But she has something that James Bond doesn't. She saves James Bond over and over again, you know, like from himself.
Well, she literally restarts his heart.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Because and that I love that scene because he's trying to like do all this stuff clearly meant for someone to do to you
yeah,
by himself because he thinks he can do everything by himself. He has that ego. And then she comes and helps him. And that sort of makes you realize like, oh, there's something she has that James Bond doesn't. What does she have that James Bond lacks?
yeah. Like these are things that are good traits in a person, but bad traits in a spy.
Yeah.
And that she's truthful and sincere. You know, she's not really good at hiding like at lying and hiding her emotions and stuff.
Hmm.
Like she's even as they're checking in to the hotel and playing the part of a husband and wife, she's like, well, my character is upset with you right now because that's how I'm feeling.
Exactly. Yeah.
She's just unable to kind of like conceal her motives and intentions.
Yeah, but like that's her weakness, but what's her strength? Like she's
I would
what
say
does
that's a strength.
okay.
like,
I guess that's true, yeah. But
like James Bond is a spy because he's a bad dude.
I don't think
he's
he is a bad dude though. I think he's a good dude on the inside, and to be in the that world, you have to
You have to be a bad
pretend.
dude.
No, you have to pretend to be a bad dude. It's like Django
Okay.
again. Django is the
Well,
skeleton key to all this. Like Django has
yeah.
to pretend to be the bad guy, but he's really a good guy.
Yeah. Well, I think Django is a more straightforwardly heroic character.
But anyway, okay, so back to James Bond. Let me tell you my well, actually, I'll say one last thing and then I'll tell you my grand thesis that I think 75% sure you'll disagree with.
Okay. Okay.
It's similar to True Lies, where you just were like, no. I just no. But the last thing I'll say is going back to the beginning again, because I think it's such an important scene.
Hmm.
What's the reason that James Bond kills that other MI6 guy?
He betrayed his country, betrayed the organization.
Yeah, because James Bond was like, we don't care that you were had a little side gig going on. The problem is it was because you were selling state secrets. And so I got to kill you. And so if you view this as I do, as sort of a descent into the underworld, the world of
Okay.
shadow, the world of where you have to fight with evil and you have to kind of become a monster to fight the monsters.
Yeah.
What's the biggest risk in that?
Well, it's becoming monstrous.
Becoming losing yourself to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what happened to this last guy. That's why he had to die. And the new 007 had to come in because that guy had become a monster in the world of monsters. And he became corrupted by all the there's so many corrupting influences in that world, you know, that
So
it's just so easy to be corrupted.
so that there is like I do agree that like that James Bond feels incorruptible.
Hmm.
Like he has zero desire for like he has zero ambitions. Like long-term ambitions. Like what James Bond like everything that James Bond wants can be fulfilled immediately. like he has very immediate desires. And I think that tendency also makes him very difficult to corrupt. Like you can't bribe James Bond
Hmm.
because the things that he wants are cheap. He wants to drink and be with women and to do spy stuff.
He
Like it
kind of
seems
wants
like
action.
he wants action.
Well, it's interesting, like to that point. I found the line. I found myself thinking about the line. The woman at the first woman that ended up dying that he had sex with. She asked him like, "Do you always go after married women or something?" And he goes,
He said it makes it simpler.
"It makes it simpler."
Yeah.
Why does it make it simpler though? That's what I was asking. Like, what is it about married women?
Well, it because it turns everything into the short term. Like there's like the reason why Vesper kind of had to die. Well, the first lady died anyway, but we can ignore that. Uh, like the reason why Vesper had to die is because like she was, you know, going to be in a permanent relationship with James Bond, and he's kind of this vortex of chaos that just damages everything around him.
Yeah,
And it's just like his, it makes he's like choosing to sleep with married women is almost like a him doing the right thing. Because like, oh well, these women are never going to become attached to me, so that we can like
exactly.
they'll never
Yeah.
become a part of my terrible, awful, chaotic life.
Yeah, he's like he's acting just like a 20-year-old would. You know, like if James Bond is supposed to be learning all the lessons of an idealized man, what's the first thing that you do? You know, you don't want to settle with a woman immediately. Like you're kind of supposed to like marry the first woman that you meet, but you don't want to. And so I think a lot of young men have to get that out of their system first. And so like this is another one of those adolescent things that he's learning is
So
is
uh,
like and then when he does settle down with the person, he's just not ready for it yet, you know.
yeah, well, yeah, reality kind of contrives to. It's like, no, you can't. This can't be you. You can't be this guy. You
You
have to
haven't
go
done
back to being
enough.
James Bond.
Yeah, you haven't
Uh,
made enough of yourself as a man yet to deserve to settle down with a wife. Like you haven't earned that yet, you know. Um,
yeah, I think that is a criticism that James Bond, like as a character over the years, has received, is that he kind of represents a kind of juvenile fantasy. And I'm not saying
yeah,
I
no,
agree
I
with
you're
that.
totally right. And the way that the
Yeah,
old James Bonds were, it perpetuated that. And that's why I think this James Bond is so much more interesting. And I would never review one of those other James Bonds because this James Bond is a much more mature James Bond,
yeah.
where it's like these are lessons to learn. You know, this
Well,
is
yeah, like his portraying his flaws as flaws
yeah,
makes like I don't know if it makes James Bond a more mature person, but it makes the movie a more mature movie.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
where everyone around James Bond is like, this guy's kind of a problem.
Yeah. But, it's like it's women, and it's interesting. All the people bossing James Bond around are all women. As if that's the kind of influence he needs. The women are just kind of guiding him, you know. The women are like, "No, no, James Bond, you got to go do this. You got to go do that." Like you're kind of just blindly dropping yourself into things and following your base urges. Like we need you to focus. Anything else on that topic? Or do you want me to get to my thesis?
um. Oh, yes. Let's go for the thesis.
Okay. So, James Bond has ego, too much ego.
Yeah.
What if he is ego? Okay. And then
I mean, what
what?
if he is? What I mean, like James Bond is pure id.
No, he's ego. He's ego because he's aware of himself, but he's like
Okay.
obsessed with himself, you know? So he's got too much ego. And then how do you balance how do you balance ego? You balance it with like what Vesper is, like intellect. Like she's intellect. She's smart,
Well,
she knows
well,
things, she remembers
well,
all the numbers, you
well,
know.
well, well, well ego is like rational and conscious. Like super ego is like maturity.
And who's the superego?
Uh, M.
And doesn't it make sense? Because the C or the MI6 is always aware of everything all the time. They're constantly tracking all of James Bond's movements. They're also like guiding him places. Like, go do this, go do that. This is your mission, you know? And the ego is like, okay, I'm doing this. I'm going to do it the best, but he doesn't know why.
I think James Bond has a pretty developed id. I think he's like there's a lot of like I want this drink, I want to kiss this woman. I want
The id and the ego are sort of like connected, you know. The ego serves the id without that
yeah,
guiding
but like the
force,
the,
you
the,
know.
the the ego is supposed to like meter your impulses. And also like none of like
Well, maybe I'm using the wrong words, okay? But
yeah.
essentially like James Bond just acts and does things and is selfish and, you know, does things for himself. And
Yeah.
then to balance that, you don't you don't necessarily need another person, but you need a balanced psychology. So this is all psychological, okay? So Vesper represents that balancing force, that kind of feminine side where it's like rein in your ego, don't go all crazy, don't lose all my money, you know, just keep yourself reined in a bit. And that's what her role is in this psychological sort of reading of it. And then M is overlooking the whole thing and giving guidance and stuff. And that also happens in your head. And these things are developed one by one, okay? So what's going on with James Bond this whole time is he's becoming a psychologically developed man, you
So
know,
I
or character. And all
like
three of these all three of these parts they act in relation to each other, and sometimes one takes over, and it's like when to let one take over and when to push back one and everything like that. So it's like it's a messy process to figure all this out, you know, and that's what's going on in the movie.
so like by my reading of the movie, James Bond needs M. M is a necessary constraint on his ridiculous behavior.
Yeah.
But I feel like Vesper is a distraction pulling him away from who he needs to be. Like
No,
he's
no, she saves him multiple times in the movie.
I mean she is a heroic character and does heroic things and she does save the day a couple times.
And
But
she provides like the money, she provides the, you know, the accounts and all that stuff. Like she's the intellect part of him.
but Vesper doesn't curb that behavior at all.
No, no, and it's true, but in later on, I think she does. In other instances, I think she does. You know, doesn't she
Yes.
seem like the force that is there to just be like, James, I wouldn't do that, you know?
Yeah, but like that never turns out. Like
I
like
feel like it I feel
every
like it does. I
because
forget.
I don't think she ever I don't think like at all the points where they disagree, I think he's right. Like it seems like she's like this
Well, okay, so
this
maybe
force pulling him away from all of the things that make James Bond.
no, well,
And
what's yeah.
she wants him to take fewer risks and be less of a horn dog and then eventually to like leave the super spy life entirely. And then
Yeah.
after she dies, he's like, "Oh my god, this was all a mistake. I really need to go back to being a rambunctious asshole." And like that's who I am. That's how I can continue to do all of my spy shit is by leaning into all my James Bondy traits.
Not so. Because I felt like the very end of the movie, it was so the whole time I felt like James Bond, you know, started the movie with an ego out of control, and then he was paired with Vesper, and Vesper sort of had this civilizing effect on him to some degree. And then she pulled him way too far into being civilized to the point he had no ego, you know, when they were in Venice.
At some point, he
Yeah.
says like, "Oh, one of us is going to have to get a job at some point."
I
Haha.
know. I know. Yeah. That was a good. And then, did you see the name of the ship that they were on?
No.
Spirit. It was sort of a Icarus sort of thing where there were they were like two in Fantasyland or something. Like they were like trying to deny the world, when they
What?
were in Venice. And it's like, nope, you're not angels. This isn't
Yeah.
heaven, you're riding on this boat called Spirit. While there's this dark thing that's still surrounding you and you haven't dealt with yet. But anyway, so at the very, very end, so he goes to Venice and he goes too far in the other direction of egolessness and he gets rid of his armor.
Yeah, he's too domestic.
Yeah, he's too domestic. And then he has to come back. And at the very end, he kills the guy. He's wearing his armor again, the tailored suit that she
Hmm.
made for him. And finally, there's this shot looking up at him. He looks so epic. And that's when he finally says, the name's Bond, James Bond. He's become himself. He's become
Yeah.
fully integrated
Then,
with
and then roll
Vesper's
credits with the
influence.
yeah.
Yeah,
Then roll credits with the James Bond theme with the bass guitar.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Uh,
it feels like a complete transformation, and it might be the spirit of Vesper that's in him because I think she's dead, right?
yeah. I think she's dead. I mean, he was yeah. Like she was pretty. I mean, she was laying there in his arms.
Hmm.
It would be very strange for it to come back later and be like, oh, they some paramedics found her, and oh god, they revived her. Isn't that
Yeah.
neat? Like I don't think the movie would. I don't think the series would do that to us.
And what does Vesper mean? That means like
It's like a whisper or something, or is it?
I thought it
Or
was
is it
like
like a?
wind, like a wind, like oh, interesting.
It's a,
Okay, so
it's
you
like a
remember that?
martini.
Yeah, you remember that drink that he said? It
What?
was the name of the drink, and he says like they should find a name for that.
Oh, he calls.
That's
Oh,
the Vesper. Okay, interesting. Okay, so Vesper
oh,
actually
it.
doesn't mean anything.
Oh no. It was actually in the original 1953 novel
Yeah.
is when it got. No, but
Oh,
I've heard the word Vesper before. I know
yeah.
this is a
Okay.
real word.
Here's what it is. Vespers is a traditional Christian evening prayer service. So it's spiritual. So maybe
Well,
she represents
it
his like spiritual side and not his
and
intellect.
it is mostly spirits. Uh,
And he's riding the spirit with her.
mm,
Yeah, yeah.
you know
We're
what?
getting
You
to
know
the
what this
bottom.
makes me think. This
What?
makes me think that sometimes a rose is just a rose.
All right. So I'm just checking my notes to see if I have anything else.
Like Mads Mikkelsen or Le Chiffre is kind of a gambling addict, where
Oh,
but he also loves to cheat.
yes.
So
Okay.
he tries to play the stock market and then cheat by doing terrorism. And I think he's also trying to, but like I didn't bring that up because it doesn't seem to go anywhere because he's actually pretty honorable as he's playing through the. Oh, I guess he tries to poison James Bond.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that happens. So yeah, he's like where James Bond is like his recklessness and his ego make him an honorable gambler where he's like, well, like we're just gonna see where where the roulette wheel spins,
Well, he wants to
and
prove he's the better player.
yeah, and Le Chiffre just wants to win,
Yeah.
and he doesn't have that. he's not doing it for sheer love of the game. He just wants the money.
One interesting thing too is, like that whole theme of like what makes James Bond so good is that he's able to read people.
Hmm.
I like that they went into the Bodies Museum of all places.
I I almost put that in the notes, but I don't. I couldn't make it relate to anything.
I picked up two things from it that I agree. I was really trying to figure it out because it seems so intentional. It was also like a bigger deal back then. Like it was like
Yeah, like that
cool.
was same thing with the parkour, where like
Yeah.
this was like peak parkour.
But so the Bodies Museum, what it does is it sort of lets you see through people into who they really are. That's sort of like what James Bond does. Like that's what kind of the movie's about is like see through the lies, see through the corruption, see through people's tells.
Yeah, like yeah,
And
it is about like a lot of the movie is like bringing truth to light.
mhm. And it also made me think of something else. What the Bodies Museum presents the human body as is something mechanical. It's just
Hmm.
like, oh, these limbs are attached this way, and your muscles all work like this, and your organs all do this and that, and that's where your brain is, and that's what it looks like. But it's like it barely
Hmm.
tells the story of what of what makes us human. And I feel like that's the way Le Chiffre sees the world, you know, is this sort of like mechanical game that can be won based on knowing the odds as better than the other person. And James Bond is like, I just read people. I look into
Yeah,
your eyes and I win, but by knowing who the hell you are.
yeah, because Le Chiffre is introduced essentially like talking someone into folding by being like, oh well,
Yeah,
the
exactly.
card that you're looking, the card that you're looking for only has a 17% chance of being dropped, so you should just fold now, haha.
And I have a two pair and I can beat it, but like,
And then he starts bleeding out of his eye.
yeah, like there was a quote in the movie which is like MI6 is just full of accountants now.
I
And
think that wasn't that thing that Bond said was like, oh, it's being run by the accountants
yeah,
nowadays.
somebody
Yeah,
said it. And that sort of like shows why Bond is so special is because there's all these accountants trying to solve these issues of ridding the world of darkness, but it's like you kind of need a guy that's just human to do
yeah, but and
that.
also like I think a part of that is like this is the first story of this particular iteration of James Bond.
Hmm.
But I think that was like a little wink at the audience of like obviously like the previous James Bonds aren't canon or anything, but the idea is like remember those old movies, this is gonna be remember like back in the day James Bond could just do whatever the hell he wanted, but now
Yeah.
it's run by the accountants. We have to
Yeah, and
he's gonna have
all
some
those.
constraints on him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I mean, but I think the lesson of the movie is you do need constraints. Like those constraints are good. Like and then one more thing on Le Chiffre too, and I think this is the last thing I have to say. And it's also sort of the hardest to talk about because I'm not really sure how to. It's kind of vague, my thoughts on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so look at life like a game. Okay, in the Casino Royale, the poker game is limited. It's a limited game to that table. While they're playing the game, there's an interplay. Okay, because they have like a couple of breaks. And during the breaks in the game on the table, the real life game is playing out. Like they're getting beat up by machete people, and both of them are like Le Chiffre and
Yeah.
Bond. Like there's all
Mm-hmm.
these things happening, and then when they step back at the table, they can't show any emotion. It can't affect them at all. But all these things that are happening are affecting them. But then that made me think, what's the real game? Because Le Chiffre is playing games with he sees the world as a giant game that
Yeah.
he's playing like with the stock market and stuff. Like that seems like the more important game, the game outside the casino game. But the casino game actually, if he didn't win the casino game, they wouldn't have bankrupted Le Chiffre and they wouldn't have succeeded. So that game was just as important as the outside game. So what it is you have to play the game like your life depends on it. Okay? The
Hmm.
game of life, okay? But you also can't take it seriously. So you have to treat life like it's a game and you have to treat the game like it's as serious as life, basically. Like that's sort of a lesson. That's sort of one of the lessons of the whole poker thing, I think, in the movie.
Like a game is supposed to be like a trivial thing,
Hmm. Exactly.
and the and all of reality is kind of conspiring to raise the stakes of this poker game.
Hmm.
Where just on its face, it's a poker game with a pot of like $200 million, and then also this is going to be how we get Le Chiffre into custody and to get him to rat on all of his criminal buddies, and then it's also sort of proving James Bond right, or because like I don't know what happens to
Yeah.
Bond if he loses this game, but like it's probably just would be just catastrophic.
You were saying earlier, like all the things that James Bond wants to do anyway, just magically turn out to be like things that
That he should
help.
be doing.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
help the MI6, and it's like, yeah, that's completely a fantasy. But it kind of shows what it kind of says to me though is like these things aren't meaningless. Like the game, like games are not meaningless. Like there's important things you can take from them, that
Hmm.
you can use these games for. Also at the same time, like one of James Bond's more attractive qualities is that he doesn't take life seriously at all. Like he laughs in the face of danger. Literally,
Yeah,
you
like
know?
in the torture scene where
Yeah.
he starts cackling maniacally, and
Yeah.
like you're the world is going to know that you died scratching my balls.
Yeah. And so it's like, and that is kind of a good way to look at life, right? Is like, hey, don't take it so seriously. View it like a game. It can be fun. You can make your life align in ways that it's like James Bond's life, where it's everything you want to do are the things that you have to
That you
do,
should be doing.
that you should
Yeah.
be doing, you
Okay.
know? And so, like, make life like a game and make games more like life.
Yeah.
And to the point where it's all one thing. And you can sort of break life down into a bunch of like little games.
Yeah,
I
and
think
that's why I've decided to quit my job and make my living on DraftKings.
exactly. I think that's a disturbing lesson to end on, Nick. And
Like it's only a bad idea if you lose.
exactly.
You're not a loser, are you?
And that was the Mythic Movie Maker podcast. Cheerio.